Imagine a tenant moves out of one of your properties. Everything on the walkthrough looks perfect.
Right, totally standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the paint is pristine, the floors are clean, the deposit is returned. But then a week later, a new family moves in.
Okay.
They'd plug in their huge flat screen, turn on the air conditioner, and maybe they spark up a space heater in the back bedroom.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Yeah. Behind that pristine drywall, a decades-old wire that has been slowly degrading for years, it finally just hits its limit.
And starts cooking.
It starts cooking. A fire breaks out inside the wall. Thankfully, everyone gets out safely, but half the structure is totally gutted.
Wow.
So you call your insurance company expecting a standard claims process.
Yeah.
But instead, the adjuster points to the remains of an outdated 60-amp electrical panel and tells you the policy is void due to neglected infrastructure.
Oh, man.
You are entirely on the hook.
That's the absolute ultimate nightmare scenario in property management. We like to think of buildings as these static, unchanging structures. But they are incredibly dynamic, and their most critical systems are completely invisible to us.
Yeah, hidden behind the drywall.
Exactly. You can't just X-ray a wall and instantly categorize its health, right? But what you cannot see is actively determining the financial viability of your investment.
Welcome to today's deep dive. If you manage or own real estate, you are already operating in a landscape of hidden liabilities.
That's the truth.
Today, we are extracting a bulletproof, proactive electrical safety and compliance checklist, specifically geared for property owners.
It's so necessary.
It really is. And whether you manage a single rental home or a massive retail space, our mission today is to give you the ultimate checklist to protect your assets, ensure tenant safety, and actually boost your property's ROI.
Yeah, turn a liability into an asset.
Exactly. And we are pulling this blueprint directly from technical guides and field blogs published by AT Electric LLC.
Right. They're a commercial electrical contractor based out in Mansfield, Texas.
Yeah, navigating the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And let me tell you, keeping the lights on and the AC running during a brutal Texas summer,
Oh, yeah.
that is the ultimate stress test for any building's infrastructure.
It absolutely is. I mean, Texas weather pushes legacy systems to the point of catastrophic failure.
For sure.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, property owners historically view electrical work as this reactive nuisance,
Yeah, like a switch breaks, you pay a handyman to swap it out.
Exactly. But reading through these AT Electric field reports, it becomes super clear that modern electrical management is a proactive asset protection strategy.
It really changes the mindset.
It has to,
Yeah.
because modern tenant demands are pushing older systems way past their breaking points. We're talking about giving you the tools to secure your physical assets and actually increase your property's overall valuation.
The technical notes use this really brilliant analogy. They describe a building's electrical system as its central nervous system.
I love that.
Right. Okay, let's unpack this. If a nervous system is degraded, the whole body suffers total operational paralysis.
Yeah.
So we want to start by looking at the heart pumping energy into that nervous system, which is the main electrical panel.
The power hub.
Exactly. Checklist item 1. The power hub capacity check. Because you can't update the rest of the house if the heart is failing.
No, you definitely can't.
And the data from these sources is wild. They are constantly encountering older rental homes that are still just scraping by on 60-amp or 100-amp electrical panels.
It's just terrifying.
It is. They argue that handling today's demands requires a baseline 200-amp service or even higher.
Bare minimum, yeah.
But hold on, let me push back a bit, playing devil's advocate here.
Go for it.
If a phone charger draws like 1 amp, 60 amps sounds like plenty of power for an average rental. Is pushing a 200-amp panel really a safety necessity, or is this just, an industry upsell?
I hear that a lot, but it is entirely a safety necessity. And it really just comes down to the sheer physics of how modern society consumes power.
Okay, walk me through that.
Well, think about 30 years ago. A home had a single refrigerator, a basic furnace, and maybe a few incandescent bulbs.
Right. Fairly low draw.
Very low. But today, a tenant is running a multi-zone HVAC system, 2 massive refrigerators, dedicated home office setups, and they're continuously charging smart devices all simultaneously.
So it's basically like trying to stream 4K video over a 1990s dial-up internet connection.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. The pipe just isn't big enough.
Yeah.
And in electrical engineering, when you try to force massive amounts of current through a small pipe, you create friction.
And friction means heat.
Exactly. When we talk about a 60-amp panel versus a 200-amp panel, we aren't just talking about a different number on a sticker on the door.
What are we talking about?
We are talking about the physical thickness of the wires and the copper bus bars inside that metal box.
Oh, so the actual physical hardware is much larger.
Exactly. A 200-amp panel uses significantly thicker gauge wiring designed to let heavy electrical loads flow freely and dissipate heat safely.
Which a 60-amp panel just can't do.
Right. When you overwhelm a thin 60-amp wire with a modern HVAC load, that friction turns directly into heat.
And that heat is what degrades the plastic insulation around the wire,
Yes.
which eventually leads to those hidden wall fires we talked about. The field notes actually highlight the physical warning signs of this that landlords need to look out for.
Yeah, these are crucial.
If your tenants are complaining about lights dimming when the washing machine kicks on, that is the system begging for more capacity.
It's starving for power.
And we have to talk about tripping breakers. Because I think the average landlord just, goes to the basement, flips the switch back to the on position, and goes about their day.
Assuming it's just being annoying.
Right, assuming the breaker is just a nuisance.
Which is a remarkably dangerous habit.
How come?
Because a tripping breaker is doing exactly what it was engineered to do. It's a defense mechanism, not a nuisance.
Or trying to protect the house.
Exactly. Inside that breaker is a little bimetallic strip. When too much current flows through, the heat literally causes that metal strip to bend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that physical bending mechanically snaps the circuit open to stop the flow of electricity. It is your ultimate defense mechanism against a fire.
So if you just keep resetting it.
If you just keep resetting it without addressing the heavy load, you are forcing that metal strip to keep heating up and wearing out. You are actively overriding the only thing preventing a fire.
That is terrifying. The reports mention other visual signs too, like rust, scorch marks, or corrosion on the panel.
Also bad signs.
But the one that really got me was tactile. The sources explicitly state to pay attention to this.
Yeah, the heat.
Right. If you are listening to this right now and the panel at your rental property feels warm to the touch, or if there is a faint, almost fishy burning odor around it.
Oh, that smell is distinct.
That is the smell of melting wire insulation. If your rental panel feels warm, you are dealing with a severe fire hazard right now.
That requires an immediate shutdown and a call to a professional. No questions asked.
So securing the capacity of the main power hub is step one on our checklist. But assuming your panel isn't currently melting, how do you catch the silent killers before they escalate?
Right, before it's too late.
Which brings us to checklist item 2, the diagnostic schedule. Now that we know what physical signs to look for, when exactly should a landlord be looking for them?
The timeline laid out in these guides is actually very strict.
Yeah, comprehensive electrical inspections need to happen every 3 to 5 years, period.
Absolutely.
But they also mandate an inspection after any severe weather event, which makes total sense with lightning and grid surges in Texas.
Right, you never know what a surge did to the underground lines.
Exactly. But crucially, they mandate inspections immediately during long-term tenant turnovers.
Yes.
And I have to say, that last one surprised me. Why mandate a licensed electrician just because somebody moved out? Doesn't a standard landlord walkthrough cover it?
You'd think so, right?
Yeah, you check the paint, make sure the stove turns on, look for holes in the drywall. Why bring an electrician?
What's fascinating here is that it comes down to tenant psychology.
Tenant psychology.
Yeah. Tenants adapt to hazards rather than reporting them.
Oh, interesting.
So during your standard walkthrough, you might test an outlet in the kitchen, realize it's dead, and just write it down as a minor fix for later.
Just swap the plug out, right?
But dead outlets are rarely just dead. They're usually major warning signs of hidden hazards like loose wiring upstream.
Let's break down the GFCI thing really quickly because the sources mention this, and we see those buttons on outlets near sinks all the time.
Right, ground fault circuit interrupters.
Yeah. From what I understand, it's not just a regular outlet. It's actively measuring the current going out into your appliance and the current coming back.
That's correct.
And if even a tiny fraction of a milliamp doesn't come back, meaning it's leaking into water, or worse, leaking into a person, it cuts the power in milliseconds.
Exactly, to prevent electrocution. So if a tenant has a GFCI outlet that keeps tripping, it means there is an active ground fault.
A leak in the electrical flow.
Yes. But instead of telling you, the landlord, the tenant, just gets annoyed. They stop using their outlet and they just plug their toaster in across the room.
So they just live with this sparking, hazardous outlet for a year.
Exactly. They move out, and suddenly you inherit a massive liability. A tenant might ignore a sparking outlet, passing that danger on to you. Professional diagnostics catch the things tenants learn to ignore.
And the field notes detail what those professional diagnostics actually look like. Let me tell you, it is way beyond flipping a switch.
Oh, it's highly technical.
Yeah. The electricians from AT Electric use infrared technology to scan for, quote, thermal anomalies in the switchgear.
Which is just so cool.
Meaning they literally use a heat vision camera on the panel to see which connections are glowing hot before they actually fail.
It's incredible preventative maintenance.
They are also checking for degraded insulation and load balances across the phases of power. Can you explain why verifying load balances matters to a property owner?
Sure. Most residential and light commercial buildings run on split-phase or three-phase power.
Okay,
Think of it like a highway with multiple lanes delivering electricity.
I'm with you.
If you wire all your heavy appliances, the HVAC, the ovens, the dryers, onto just one lane, that phase gets completely overloaded while the others sit empty.
That sounds like a bad traffic jam.
It is. This imbalance forces excess current to travel back through the neutral wire. And here's the catch. The neutral wire isn't always protected by a breaker in the same way the hot wires are.
Wait, really?
Yeah, so an imbalanced load can cause that neutral wire to overheat and start a fire, even if a breaker never trips.
Wow. And they also hunt for loose neutral wires.
Yes, which are incredibly destructive.
Because if the neutral wire is the return path and the connection gets physically loose from, say, vibrations over time.
The voltage in the house goes completely haywire.
Right. You could get 180 volts surging into a television that's only built for 120 volts, frying the electronics instantly.
And if that television belongs to your new tenant, you're going to be having a very unpleasant conversation about replacing it.
Which is exactly why the turnover inspection is non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
Speaking of frying expensive appliances, let's move to checklist item 3. Isolating the HVAC in heavy machinery.
The biggest money pit on any property.
For real. In places like Texas, air conditioning isn't a luxury. It is critical infrastructure.
You literally can't rent a place without it.
Right. And the sources draw a sharp contrast between legacy infrastructure and modern systems.
Yeah.
In older setups, an HVAC unit often uses a shared load. It shares a circuit with other parts of the building.
Which is terrible for the equipment.
We know this causes trip breakers, but the hidden damage to the equipment itself is what caught my eye.
Well, the quality of power delivery dictates the lifespan of mechanical equipment. Sensitive, heavy-duty mechanical motors require clean, consistent voltage to operate efficiently.
I was looking at the motor physics on this from the guides. If the AC is on a shared circuit, every time a tenant turns on a high-draw appliance, like a vacuum or a microwave,
There is a momentary drop in voltage available to the HVAC motor.
it's exactly like taking a shower when someone flushes a toilet.
Right.
The water pressure suddenly drops.
Great analogy. And when a massive compressor motor is suddenly starved of its required voltage, it doesn't just slow down.
What does it do?
To maintain its output, the motor compensates by pulling in more current.
Okay, and more current means.
More current creates excess heat in the copper windings inside the motor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that constant daily thermal stress just bakes the insulation on those windings until they eventually short out entirely.
Which means the motor destroys itself from the inside out, just trying to do its job.
Exactly, premature degradation.
The solution laid out in the checklist is surprisingly straightforward. Isolate the HVAC onto its own dedicated heavy-duty circuit.
Give it its own massive uninterrupted pipe of power.
And the data explicitly states that this one strategy can extend the lifespan of an HVAC unit by 5 to 10 years.
Which is massive.
It's massive financial relief. A full multi-zone residential or commercial HVAC replacement easily runs into the tens of thousands of dollars, delaying that expense by a decade just by fixing the wiring today.
It changes electrical work from a maintenance expense into a capital preservation strategy.
Which transitions us perfectly to checklist item 4. We're pivoting from pure defense, preventing fires and breakdowns, to playing offense.
How to actually generate money.
Yes, upgrading for ROI. How can this checklist attract better tenants? The AT Electric notes highlight 2 massive upgrades: lighting and EV infrastructure.
Let's start with lighting.
They strongly advise transitioning properties from traditional fluorescent fixtures to commercial LED systems.
Right, citing an ROI timeline of just 1 to 3 years.
Which is incredibly fast.
The energy savings are obvious, but the mechanism behind why LEDs are so transformative goes beyond just the lighting bill.
Because fluorescents are inherently inefficient, right? They work by running electricity through a tube of gas to create UV light.
Right, which then hits a phosphor coating to create visible light.
And that whole violent chemical reaction generates a ton of ambient heat.
A ton of heat.
LEDs, on the other hand, use a semiconductor diode. Electrons just fall into microscopic holes and release energy as pure light.
With virtually zero heat generated.
Exactly. The field reports point out a massive double benefit for Texas real estate here. By removing hundreds of heat-generating fluorescent tubes from a commercial space or a rental home,
You are drastically dropping the ambient temperature of the building.
you are actively reducing the strain on the air conditioning.
You are removing a constant active heat source that your air conditioner was fighting against all day long. So you slash the lighting bill and you simultaneously slash the cooling bill.
That is brilliant. Plus, LEDs offer automated dimming and ultra-low energy use.
And for property managers, you eliminate the endless labor costs of having a maintenance guy on a ladder swapping out flickering fluorescent tubes every month.
Yeah, that maintenance category is just gone. Now, the second half of the ROI strategy is electric vehicle charging.
This is huge right now.
The guides recommend installing level 2 or DC fast charging at rental properties. And we should clarify the difference here.
Definitely.
Level 1 is just plugging a car into a standard wall outlet. That gives you maybe 4 miles of range per hour. It's pretty useless for a modern tenant.
Yeah, way too slow.
Level 2 uses a 240-volt circuit, like an electric dryer, which easily charges a car overnight.
Right. And DC fast charging is the heavy commercial stuff that charges a car in under an hour.
The estimated ROI on installing these is 2 to 4 years based on utilization.
But this raises an important question. How do landlords plan to attract the next generation of renters?
Because EV chargers are no longer just a luxury.
Exactly. The adoption curve for electric vehicles is completely reshaping real estate demographics. If you are managing a multifamily unit and you do not offer level 2 charging, a massive and growing segment of high-income renters physically cannot live at your property.
You are just crossing a massive demographic off your prospect list.
It's a highly desirable amenity. It's a hard baseline requirement for many, much like high-speed internet.
Conversely, offering that infrastructure attracts eco-conscious tenants. It creates new revenue streams if you charge for the power.
And you are future-proofing the physical asset against shifting automotive trends.
Okay, so we know what needs to be done. We need a 200-amp baseline, proactive diagnostic schedules, isolated HVAC circuits, and LED and EV upgrades.
Yeah.
Let's look at the final item on the checklist. Checklist item 5, the legal firewall.
Ah, new DIY allowed.
Right. Because with all this complexity, the temptation for a property owner to, watch a few YouTube tutorials and handle the wiring themselves to save a few bucks is incredibly high.
And doing so is the single most destructive decision a property manager can make. The technical guides are uncompromising on this.
What happens if they just try to cut corners?
Well, amateur electrical work inherently lacks the rigorous testing protocols we discussed, like the thermal imaging and phase balancing.
Right.
It guarantees a failed municipal building code inspection, which instantly halts your ability to legally rent or lease the space.
But it goes even deeper into legally actionable negligence, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. If a tenant is injured or a business loses inventory due to a fire caused by amateur wiring, the landlord is held entirely liable.
And bringing it all back to our opening nightmare scenario, if a fire investigator determines that unlicensed DIY modifications were made to the electrical system,
It gives the insurance company ironclad grounds to void your homeowner's or commercial policy entirely.
So what does this all mean? It means hiring a licensed local professional isn't just about getting the lights on.
No, you are purchasing a liability shield.
Exactly. The field notes emphasize the importance of local expertise. Electricians who operate specifically in a given area like AT Electric in Mansfield understand the specific municipal code enforcement.
They know exactly what those specific city inspectors are looking for.
And they provide the rapid response agility needed to keep projects moving.
Professional coordination is key. If you are doing a tenant finish out, remodeling, the drywall teams and the flooring guys cannot move forward until the rough-in electrical inspections are passed.
Right. One delayed inspection because a handyman didn't understand the local code can bottleneck an entire project for weeks.
And in real estate, downtime is the enemy of cash flow.
For sure. All right, let's run through a rapid-fire recap of this ultimate checklist for listeners so you can take this straight to your properties.
Let's do it.
Number 1, check your power hub capacity. Understand the physics of wire friction and aim for 200 amps or more to handle modern loads safely. Number 2, implement a strict diagnostic schedule. Inspect every 3 to 5 years or immediately at tenant turnover to catch those hidden hazards.
Number 3, isolate your HVAC on dedicated circuits to delay massive replacement bills by a decade.
Perfect. Number 4, invest in commercial LEDs and EV chargers for fast ROI and to capture high-value tenants.
And number 5, never DIY. Protect your insurance policy and your timelines with licensed local professionals.
It is an incredibly powerful roadmap.
It really is. But before we wrap up, I want to leave everyone with a final thought to ponder that builds on all of this.
Lay it on us.
We talked about how EV chargers and modern panels attract tenants today, but think about 5 or 10 years from now.
Go.
As local municipalities and states begin aggressively pushing smart grid integrations, and they start requiring public energy efficiency scores for rental properties.
No, right.
Will a legacy electrical system eventually prevent you from legally renting out your property at all?
Wow.
It's worth considering if your current infrastructure is a ticking clock on your property's future viability.
That is a phenomenal, provocative point. Compliance is only going to get stricter. You can't just cross your fingers and hope the invisible infrastructure behind your walls holds up.
You really can.
By following this checklist and bringing in the diagnostic experts who actually know how to read your property's central nervous system, you turn a hidden liability into a protected, highly profitable asset.
Well said.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take this checklist, evaluate your properties, and make the upgrades. We will catch you on the next one.